Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem video. This is a postmortem of my Blitz chess game number 140. And I was white here. I played e4. And my opponent played e6, the French defense. Follow up with d4, the normal move. He plays d5. I play knight c3. So far, so good. This is an introduction to either the classical line. Here, let's go up. You can see top move here, knight f6 would be leading to the classical French defense, bishop b4, the Winauer, or d takes e4, the Rubinstein French. But my opponent played none of the above. He played c6, so an unusual move, and not particularly good. So I have played this opponent before, so I'd seen this position, and I remembered bishop d3 was a move here. Looks like knight f3 is also a move, but I went ahead and played bishop d3, and we're pretty much out of the opening book, so let's just look at the notation tab. So I get a significant advantage out of the opening. Half a point here is more than the usual opening advantage. So d takes e4, and one interesting point here is that knight takes e4 is possible. I was thinking about this during the game. So take a look at this. Knight takes e4. And I was wondering, well, can't the queen just take the pawn? And the queen can take the pawn. In fact, it's the best move, if you see the chess engine. And then knight f3, just developing. And then the queen can go to b6 or can go back to d8, about the same. And so this position, black just stole a pawn in broad daylight and then retreated. But it's white's turn to move. White can castle or develop another piece with bishop f4. And he's already got 3 pieces developed, and black has no pieces developed. So black snatched a pawn, and he didn't suffer any structural damage, right? So his pawns are all in excellent shape. So his only problem is his lack of development. But apparently the 3 pieces of development that advantage that white has are worth more than a pawn, because the chess engine still rates us as favorable to white. So that was interesting. I assumed that if black could win a pawn, that you probably shouldn't let him have it. And so I took with e4. I took with the bishop on e4 so I could maintain my control of the pawn. And that's a decent move too. It's just interesting that the chess engine actually prefers the pawn sack there. f5, bishop f3, and see I'm maintaining my advantage along here. Is bishop g5 a move here? Bishop h5 check is an idea. Let's see, if bishop g5, that was another move I was thinking about during the game. Okay, yeah, it's a decent move too. But I played bishop f4, so it's just another move. Bishop d6, challenging my bishop immediately, and queen d2, defending it. I didn't necessarily want to trade and bring his queen forward. Then he castles, and I took. So taking was a mistake. It says I should just continue, and with development, maybe castle queenside, knight ge2, knight h3. The bishop is blocking the f3 square for the knight, so it has to come out to either e2 or h3. But I guess those are all reasonable squares. Anyway, instead of doing that, I decided to get rid of that dark squared bishop, and it's kind of an even game at this point. Castle queenside, and I come up with this maneuver of g3, bishop g2, knight f3, which the chess engine doesn't like. It thinks it's a little slow, and black can get a decent game by just pushing ahead with e5 immediately. Yeah, that's down there. Rook e8, rook b8. Okay, normal developing moves. Knight b6, maybe not the best, but still okay. Queen d3, d7. So we're just continuing our moves, and black has maintained a even position, I guess. Maybe this bishop e8 is a bit suspicious. What does it say? Knight g4. Yeah, you want to be bringing your pieces forward when you can, not sending them back. I also thought maybe knight to d5 was a possibility here. Just knight f3. Huh? Yeah. So it doesn't particularly think that's a great move. Okay. The knight was a bit of a menace, I thought, because I didn't know. Later it comes to d5, and I was never sure when it was going to hop into b4 and harass my queen. So, but he played bishop e8 here, and I went knight f3, eyeing this square. He went bishop g6, and now I could just play knight e5. there's this discovered attack on my queen, but if my knight is hitting the bishop, then that's not a problem. I'll just exchange off the bishop and win a pawn. Instead, I played knight h4. So that was a bit of a glitch, because knight e5 accomplishes the same thing, and it's also where I want to put the knight anyway. So if you see the bishop goes back, I play f4, h6, knight to f3, bishop g6, and now I throw in knight e5. So sort of undoing my mistake. But it appears that while I've wasted some time, black has wasted even more time, and so now white has, once again, an advantage. And it thinks these moves are okay. It thinks the exchange here is good for me. And I'm getting all my pieces into the game, and I've got he's suffered some damage on the king side, and he has an isolated pawn here. I just have to be careful not to take and repair his pawn damage. But knight takes is a good move here. I was wondering about e takes d5. So now this position has become much more symmetrical, but I guess what's happened here also is I have a 4-on-3 majority on the queen side, and he has a 4-on-3 majority on the king side, but it's blocked actually. It can't proceed. So I have some kind of in-game advantage with effectively an extra pawn over here. Okay, so that would have been a way to play that would be good for me. He played e takes d5, and so now I can take the bishop, and I'm not repairing his pawns. And now here, it's interesting that rook to d3 or queen to d3 are good moves. And I thought the idea with queen d3 was kind of interesting, so I wanted to show it to you. Queen d3, hitting that rook and gaining a tempo. Queen to d7, defending the rook. And then queen to a3 with a double threat. It supports the idea of rook to e7, and it also attacks the a-pawn. And it thinks the best move is rook e8, followed by queen takes a7. So white can actually win a pawn there with this queen d3 idea. And after queen d3, let's go through that again. Queen d3, he doesn't have to play queen d7. He could try, how about just rook back? Maybe rook to the 7th rank to try and keep me from doing any tricks. And then it says rook e5 is good. Putting pressure on this weak pawn, and if he plays g6, rook d to e1, gaining control of the e-file. So okay, these look like good moves here. So the way I played this was not the best, although still okay for me. Bishop takes, rook takes. I played queen e6 check, thinking I would have a strong rook here after the trade. He takes, I take. And I do have an advantage. It just is not as good as the other line. But my real mistake comes in a few moves. So rook f6 he plays. And now I play rook e7. So far so good. Rook b8 he goes. And I went rook d to e1. Also a decent move. King f8 attacking my rook. And now rook 1 to e5 is strongly recommended here. And this is similar idea to what we saw earlier, just putting immediate pressure on the king side pawns over here. And if he tries to defend with g6, then you can play, let's see, rook h7, now threatening to double on the 7th rank. And if, of course, this can't be played because of the check, picking up the rook. So the only move here is king to g8. And then rook e to e7 doubles on the 7th. So this would be really crushing. So I got to a winning position here, and then I failed to convert. And this one move here throws it away. When he attacked my rook, I had the idea of doubling on the 7th, and I moved my rook to d7. But I can never double on the 7th after he plays rook f7, the very logical rook f7. So we play quite a few more moves, but actually it's all even from here on out. Cancel. Rook d6, rook e8, rook de6, rook fe7, and now I have to take. I can't move my rooks away I guess I could consider defending with f5, but yeah, that pawn might get lost over here. It looks like that's not good. So taking or moving to e5. I guess I could have considered retreating to e5. That's probably a way to keep the game going. Okay, so this turns into just a drawn king and pawn endgame. I didn't want to give up the e-file there. So let's just go forward a few moves. We get our kings into the center, and then we advance our pawns. And he has an interesting strategy of trying to create some weaknesses over here for his king to break through. So you have to be careful to place your pawns where his king can't ever break through. So if we back up here, I think taking here, oh, it likes taking. So let's check this out. D takes c5. B takes c5. Oh, then b5. Okay. So you get a passed pawn over here. And a6, c4. Why not taking on c5? Like d takes c4 is losing to b takes a6. Why is that? After all the pawns get rounded up, White's king is in a better position to come and gather up the black pawn. So this is actually winning for White. Okay, so that's interesting. So in this position, I could have played d takes c5, and then the best way for black to play this is a takes b5 or d4 check. Let's try d4 check, giving him a protected passed pawn. And king here, king d3 or e4, about equal, and then king to d7. Why d7? I mean, what happens if I try and create a passed pawn here? Oh, we can play a5, and if I take, then he can come over and round this up. Yeah, okay. So he just has to stay close enough to be able to round up these pawns. My king can never leave the area of this pawn because it's a protected passed pawn. If I ever go behind it, it'll queen. So so this should be a draw. So I guess I didn't have to worry about that exchange. But b5 also is drawing. And c4, and now he just has no way in. There's one square that he can get to, and he has this path like this. So there's this little dance you do with the king where you stay away from that blocking square. Okay, that exchange didn't matter because he still can't get on. These squares are all controlled by my pawns. So he goes back to the center, and whenever he goes to this square, threatening to come in to e4 here, I always go to e3 and keep him out. And so he could never make progress because of that. I just have to remember to stay one step away from the e3 square so that every time he steps to, sorry, I started moving backwards. Every time he steps into f4 there, f5, then I go to e3. And if he moves sideways, you know, I can waste time as well as he can. But whenever he goes up there, I go there, and it's a draw. So game ended there. Hope you found that interesting, and see you guys next time. Leave any comments you have in the section below. Bye.